Okay, welcome to this tutorial. We're going to learn a little bit about using fluids with Blender. So let's begin. I'm going to get rid of the initial cube here, so I'll hit X for delete, and I'm going to change to top view. So 7 on my number pad, and I make sure I'm in orthographic, so I have nice square angles. And I'm going to add a UV sphere. So then I'll quickly switch to front view, number 1 on my numpad. Hit Z so it's not shaded. Excuse me, there we go. Select my ball, hit Z, and then tab for edit mode, or you could switch it down here. And then A for deselect all. I'm going to use B for border select, and I'm just going to cut the top of this ball off. Hit X for delete vertices, and there we go. So I have a little bit of a cup here ready to catch some water. If you notice right now, it's a very thin walled cup, so if I want to quickly add a modifier to it, I'll just go in object mode, so that's tab, or you can switch it down here. Choose the wrench, and we're going to add solidify right there, and then I can slide the thickness until I get desired thickness. So I got some nice walls on my cup. I'm going to quickly just set it smooth, and it's looking pretty sharp. Okay, we're ready to go. So this is what's going to capture my fluid. I need to have an object that's going to disperse the fluid. So it's nice to create something with a few vertices on it for the fluid to come out of. So I'll use an iconosphere. G it up, S, scale it down. So it's got a bit of a rough surface, and that's kind of what I want. So let me just put it right off here to the side. And I'm going to put a little tube around it so it looks like there's a pipe. So I'll add another mesh. I'm going to use a cylinder. R for rotate. I use control to lock it at 90. I can choose the scale icon down here and just grab the X handle and slide it out a bit. General S to just scale it down about the size of my ball. Maybe make it a little bit longer, but it doesn't really matter. I don't even know if we're going to see it, but we'll bring it up here. And so this kind of just hides what my water is going to be flowing out of. Now we need to add properties to these different objects. I'm not going to bother with the pipe because it's not really doing anything. But the first thing I'll do is I'll say that my ball is going to be the thing that emits my water. So we'll go over here to our window here and select physics. And I'm going to say it's going to be a fluid, so I click fluid. And then it says what type of fluid. This is going to be the inflow, so this is where the water's coming from. Let me just hold it over there again. You can see what it says. Object adds fluid to the simulation, so that's cool. That's what we want. Now, what we want it to do is when the water's coming out, we want it to flow kind of like this way. This is the angle we're going. So if I look down here, I can see that what I'm at, it's my Y angle. Okay, so I'm going to say the Y inflow velocity. We can change this to like 0.8. Okay, so that way there's a bit of Y inertia, I guess, as the water comes out and flows this way. Otherwise, it'll just drop straight. So that's cool. The next thing we're going to do is look at our container that's going to catch this water, and we'll say that's going to be fluid, and it's going to be a obstacle. All right. So what kind of obstacle? Volume would have it catch all, but I'm going to tell it it's going to be a shell. So essentially, it'll take the shell of this, and that'll be what the water is trapped by, or the obstacle the water's trapped by. Now, if you're anxious, you can just go ahead and well, there's a couple steps left, but there's something that you have to understand here. When objects get created, they have these things called normals, and it's kind of like what the faces are. How the light refracts. They behave in different ways. Probably speaking wrong to that, but anyway, that's how I initially understood it. So if I go into edit mode, I want to show you something. I'll select all my my vertices here, and I'll hit N on the number pad, and it brings open a new menu here. And if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see normals. Right now, none of them are clicked on. So if I click on this one, this is the lines, or the faces, I should say, it'll show me that all these normals face outwards. You can see the lines protruding outwards. Now, if I was to add my fluid to this right now, the cup would contain most of the fluids, but it would kind of leak through the walls because of the way the normals are facing. It might be fun to try that just to see what it does, but to make this video quicker, I'm just going to show you how to fix it right off the bat. So we're going to go Control F, and we're going to say flip normals. Now watch what happens to those blue lines. Oh, you don't see it, but let me hit Z. And it's hard to see here, but what's happening is now they're all facing inside. So they're pointing inside. So it's saying that these are the faces that are going to contain all that water. So before they were on the outside, so the water was kind of able to leak through, but now they're all facing inward, so this vessel will essentially hold the water from leaking out its sides. Okay, so we're just about done. Let's switch back to 3. Now, when we do some physics things, we have to essentially create a domain or an area for the physics engine to calculate what's happening. Because think what's going to happen. Water is going to come out of here, and it's going to come out as water or as liquid, so it's going to have thousands of different little polygons, and as they interact with each other and interact with the vessel that they hit, there's millions of calculations that have to go on where they bounce off of each other and how they react. I mean, it's mind-blowing what's actually going on and how fast the computer's actually doing it. So what we have to tell it is, well, kind of ignore everything but this box that I'm about to make, and we'll call that the domain. And what we want you to do is do all the calculations with regards to how those things are behaving within this domain. So let me add one more object. And it's just going to be a cube, okay? So I make it a cube, and it has to be big enough, but not too big, because then it's just adding to too much area to calculate, but big enough to hold all my my interactions with the different physics. So if you see what's happening now, the water will come out, it'll do all its magic here, and it'll stop. It won't calculate anything past this. So the water will end up pooling down here. Now that would work well if I put a table or something. So sometimes you got to work within the bounds of what's happening. But for our demonstration purposes, this will be okay. It would also be pretty cool if it's going to take a little bit longer. But anyway, I'm going to make this a bowl, and I'm going to make it look a little bit like glass, but I'll give it a bit of a blue, maybe I'll give it a bit of a yellow tinge, just so you can kind of see it. F12. Oh, God, the domain's in the way right now. Anyway, we'll come back to this. Hopefully it's okay before we render it. And we'll give this guy we'll give it translucent, and we'll give it a bit of a dark bluish color so it looks like water. Okay, so let's start with that and see how that looks. Now we're ready to do the magic. Okay, so this domain that I've created, I now have to tell it it's a liquid as well. So I go over to physics, I choose fluid, okay, and I say that this is actually the domain. Boom. Alright, so in here is where it's going to do all its calculations. When I'm ready, the final, it's a fast enough computer, I'll go 100 just to make it look a little bit better. You can go all the way up to 700 or so to make it look great. Some of the other things you might want to change are, the smoothing. You could, take it up to 2 if you wanted, and increase the subdivisions. This just makes the particles even smaller when it creates it. Anyway, this will be pretty good. Okay, when you're ready to do all this, the baking is what does all the physics generation. So this will take a little while, but let's go ahead. So I'll hit bake, and there it goes. And whoops, I clicked it twice. But anyway, up here you can see it doing its work, and it's at 0%. This is going to take a little while. I'll try to edit the video afterwards so you're not watching this. I'm going to have some coffee as we're waiting. Oh yeah, this is going to take a while. I'm going to try to pause this and then come back to it. Okay, we're back and it's finished. It's baking. So if we look at what this looks like now after it's baked, we hit Alt-A, and we can see that the water fills our vessel and then overflows. Now there's a couple things we can do to make it look even better. We can select our water and set it smooth. That'll make it look a little more authentic. We can change our preview mode to final, and then we can see what it's going to look like. You can even see some bubbles coming, or some splashes. So it's looking pretty cool. At the end of it all, if we stop at the frame halfway in, we can F12 and take a peek at what things are going to look like, and we're done. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed. You can go ahead and render it out, and you'll see how neat it looks. Thanks. Sorry about that. It's okay. That's okay. I was making a video.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Oh God, I'm gonna get
It's
my
not.